Good evening and welcome to the June 7th Board of Selectmen meeting. I'll ask we start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with a review of the agenda. We will go over our regular selectmen meeting minutes for May 10th. We'll move on to community relations, announcements, and open forums. We have 4 appointments tonight, one for an old home day committee, one for the open space committee, one for the WRTA member, and one for the assistant animal control officer. We have 2 scheduled appointments tonight, a 6:45 appointment to the Council on Aging, a 6:50 appointment for the CMG proposal for FY 2017. Under new business, we have a potential meeting with the departments at the Overlook. We have the award of the main wing mini split system bid, and we have reverse 911. Under old business, we have the appointment of a Board of Selectmen clerk, the municipal aggregation plan, a correction to the highway bid, and discussion on the police chief process. After that, we'll move on to community reports and any Board of Selectmen policies, and move to our student select persons reports and town administrators reports, and then we'll take any other business that was unknown at the time of posting. And our next meeting will be regular meeting will be June 21st. With that, what is the board's wishes with our May 10th meeting minutes?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we accept the May 10th meeting minutes as printed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. And we'll move to the announcements. Representative Peter Durant will be holding office hours in the Selectmen's Meeting Room in the Town Hall on Monday, June 13th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Due to that, the 2015 Annual Town Report can be found online by visiting townofcharlton.net. The Old Home Day Committee would like to reinstate old-time activities like the bed race, musical chairs, and others prior to the parade and before the music. They need a town group or committee to sponsor the event and set it up. Most events will take less than an hour and only need a few people to organize them. This year, Old Home Day is Old Home Day's 120th anniversary. If you're all interested in being a part of this, please contact Kathleen Walker at oldhomeday@charter.net. That's oldhomeday@charter.net. The Bittersweet Country Crafts will be holding an open house on June 25th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 4 Dresser Hill Road. There'll be games, refreshments, and a petting zoo. So come enjoy the day. Ms. Craver?
I have another announcement that didn't quite make the list, but I think it's important to remind people that tomorrow night is the Exxon informational.
That's right.
I believe that they sent out a card to all of the households. We invite anyone who has any questions about how that process will go to come down and join us. They will have an informational component, and they will also have some different tables for some one-on-one questions, so it won't just be a forum where they talk, give a presentation. DEP will also be there, as well as our Board of Health and our Water Sewer Commission.
And that's at 6 o'clock at the middle school, correct?
That is at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock at the middle
Charlton
school.
Middle School.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Craver.
You're welcome.
Are there any other announcements from the board? Is anyone here for open forum? Seeing none, we'll go to our first appointment for the Old Home Day Committee. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached are 2 talent bank forms received from Jody Blanchard and Darlene Emickle-Rollins, seeking to be appointed to the Old Home Day Committee. The Old Home Day Committee has approved and would recommend the board make the appointments as requested, and I would agree.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint Jody Bashant and Darlene Emco-Rollins to the Old Home Day Committee.
Second.
Maybe a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our second appointment for the Open Space Committee. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. The Conservation Commission is seeking to re-establish the Open Space Committee, whose purpose is to review the open space for the town, and is recommending the following be appointed: Lisa Westwell, Robert Hartwig, Paul
Kalishnikovich.
Thank you. Deborah Chicarini and Darlene Rollins. I would recommend the board make the appointments as requested. For information purposes, the notice of openings has been running on cable and the town's website since March 7th.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cooper?
I make a motion that we reestablish the Open Space Committee with the purpose of reviewing the open space plan for the town and appointing Lisa Westwell, Robert Hartwig, Paul Kolesnikovis, Deb Ceccarini, and Darlene Emco Rollins.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I just want to say that I think this is a very good thing to see it reinstated. It's been a while since this committee has been active. It is a component of the master plan. It's a very important component of the master plan. And we have several organizations in town that also help, Charlton Heritage Preservation Trust, Worcester Land, yeah, I can't remember the full accurate name of it, but have parcels in town. I think that it would be good to have this committee work with those entities and preserve, the green space that we have.
Absolutely. Ms.
And
Graver?
If I may add, they are going to hit the ground running. If you remember, we have the CIC grant, and one of the goals that the board has is to complete our open space, update the open space plan. And with that, we will be working with CMRPC. So this committee will be working with CMRPC to move that forward.
Ms. Graver, two questions. The CIC grant, or is it the community compact? Is this part of
Community compact.
Okay.
CIC with stormwater, thank you.
And I assume we only had 5 interested people for the position.
I cannot confirm that.
It's a good group, and I'm looking forward to what this committee can do. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our third appointment, the WRTA member, Ms. Craver.
Yes, sir. As you're aware, our WRTA Advisory Committee member resigned his position on April 12th. We have had a regular member and an alternate member running on cable since April 13th, 2016. The WRTA has contacted us and has recommended the board consider appointing the town administrator to their advisory committee until a candidate has come forward. I would be honored to serve on this committee until such time as needed. What is the board's wishes?
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint the town administrator as to the WRTA Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll start us off. Ms. Craver, do you feel that you have enough time? I know you are already wearing a lot of hats. Just do you have enough time and availability to wear another one?
I will certainly do my best. I think it's important, even if I don't make all the meetings, that when something pertinent's coming up, we can have a representative that can jump in there quickly.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes, and thank you very much for stepping up. All right, we'll move to our fourth appointment, the Assistant Animal Control Officer. Ms. Graver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a letter from Chief Purveyor stating that he and Animal Control Officer Ann Salou interviewed 3 candidates who had applied for the Assistant Animal Control Officer position. They are recommending the appointment of Robert C. McGrath. Mr. McGrath recently completed the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Animal Control Officer Certification course. He holds a valid Massachusetts license to carry firearms, and he currently serves as an Assistant Animal Control Officer for the town of Oxford. He also serves as one of our Charlton Auxiliary Police Officers. I would agree with the recommendation, and I do believe that he is here as well as Ann, and the chief is ready to introduce you.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. Chief?
Through the chair. Yes, we had 3 people that applied, but overwhelmingly, Mr. McGrath had all the requisite training, and he has, license to carry if he has to take and put down an animal. I've known Officer McGrath for a while as an auxiliary officer. I know that he can do the job, and I was just glad that he applied. So that way, we can rest assured that if our main animal control officer in Salu's not available, or if she has a night off or on vacation, that he'll step up and without question do the job.
Thank you. And Mr. McGrath, would you like to come up and introduce yourself to the town?
Through the chair.
Mr. John McGrath.
While he's doing that, I just want to clarify that Mr. Robert McGrath is no relative of mine. Even though we do share the same neighborhood, and I do know him, and I know his folks very well, we are not related.
I
We were
believe
all
this
thinking
comes
it,
up every time I
Yes,
come
it
before
does.
you, so.
So please, if you want to say a few words.
Like Chief introduced me, my name's Robert McGrath. Grew up, born and raised in this town. I like to serve my community and, put my best hat forward in the many I do wear. So I look forward to the opportunity and being able to serve my town.
Thank you, Ms. McGrath, and it's a very common theme around here for people to wear multiple hats, so. Right, so what are the wishes of the board then?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer,
I would move to appoint Robert C. McGrath of 6A Young Road as Assistant Animal Control Officer.
Second.
a motion and second. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Welcome aboard,
Thank you.
again.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Just to let the board know, this is Robert's son, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, Jonathan.
How are you?
Got another Jonathan McGrath.
Yeah.
All right, so that takes care of our appointments and resignations. We'll move on to our 6:45, if everyone's here, our appointments to the Council on Aging.
So we're not at 6:45. I'm not sure everyone's here yet, so, Mr. Chair, if you'd like to go down to,
Sure, the
new
new business number
business.
1. That's the meeting with departments, a possible hosting a meeting at the Overlook.
Oh, we're not ready for the CMG.
he's not here
No,
yet either.
I'll wait for that one.
So we're at 54.
Just trying to be
Okay.
efficient.
Mr. Chair, I attended the Overlook's 10th year anniversary celebration and presented the idea of the board hosting a Meet the Departments at Overlook. Overlook has said that they would be happy to have our departments, boards, commissions, and committees attend this event and explain the purpose of each board. On March 6, 2007, when I first got here, we held a community connection social, which was well-attended. Would the board be interested in this? The goal of the meeting would be to try and get more residents involved in our government. And as you know, and I think you're going to be talking about the Government Study Committee, one of the recommendations was that the Board of Selectmen become more involved in recruiting volunteers. So this might be, a nice way to meet some of that goal.
Absolutely, and it's always a good idea for people to know who's serving them and who is, the people working for the town.
And you may want to, you have, under your goals and objectives, you've had 2 meetings for your boards and committees. Maybe we substitute one of those for this.
And what are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Ms. McGrath?
I make a motion that we ask the town administrator to set up a all departments meeting for the purpose of introducing ourselves and what goes on with the different boards and departments, and also putting the option out there for people to become involved in the government, so that they, fear of the unknown sometimes keeps people away, so that is my motion.
All of it?
No, Mary will strike some of it for us.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? I think an open house is a very unique, nice idea, and I'm glad, we're bringing that back, and I thank you for being very proactive about that, Ms. Graber. Right. No discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. And thank you, Ms. Graber, for spearheading that,
Thank you.
and I look forward to finding out when it's gonna be.
Okay. I think I could quickly do the mini split system while we're waiting for it to become time. On May 31st, if that's okay?
That's perfectly fine, thank you.
On May 31st at noontime, the bids were received and opened for the main wing mini split system, that's our HVAC. One bid was received from MPC Services out of Sutton, Massachusetts, in the amount of $37,744. The building commissioner, Meskis, has reviewed the bid and would recommend the board award the bid to MPC Services Incorporated in the amount of $37,744.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we award the bid for the main wing mini split system, HVAC, to MPC Services, Inc. of Sutton, Mass. In the amount of $37,744.00.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Graver, this would this be the completion of the central air?
No, we
Project?
have one more wing,
One more wing? Okay.
but we're getting there.
Yeah,
We're
it's
getting
amazing to see all these pieces finally come together, especially when it's, getting really warm out.
there.
So, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. And now, we will move back down to our 6:45 appointment to the Council on Aging. I ask if the council would come up and please join us.
Are all is there more than the two members down
There
there?
should,
or-
there should be more, but
Gail, you're a member? Yeah, should we go up?
All members, yeah, please.
Yeah.
The process for adding in, appointing a board member is a joint vote of both the Board of Selectmen and the Council on Aging, so each of you will have a vote.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. Well said.
So, Mr. Chair, we notified the Council on Aging of a vacancy on their board due to a resignation of George Butts. The opening was placed on the cable channel and the town's website. One request for appointment has been received from Barbara Larson, and the Council on Aging is recommending that appointment. The vote for appointment must be done jointly and by roll call vote by both boards, and the term, expiration term would be June 30th, 2019.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. So we will open this joint meeting up, and if you want to make a motion.
I'm Irene Langevin, I'm vice chair, and this is Barbara Lawson.
So thank you, and we will, what are the wishes of the board? I'm asking for a motion, please.
Does the motion have to come from us or from the council?
It's a joint meeting, so it can be either of us.
So, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer?
I would move to appoint Barbara A. Larson to the Council on Aging.
Second.
Okay, thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion from anyone? I just want to say thank you for stepping up, and it's a very important board, and it's good to have really good dedicated members.
Thank you.
Seeing no discussion, we must do this by roll call vote. So I ask everyone, we'll go around this way. If you would state your name and say whether you vote
John
aye or nay.
McGrath, aye.
Cindy Cooper, aye.
Irene Langevin, aye.
Gail Stokes, aye.
Madeline Manfield, aye.
David Singer, aye.
And Joe Safarovich votes aye, and the motion passes. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mrs. Larson, are you Schwann's mother?
Yes, I am.
I work with Schwann,
Oh, do you?
a fine young man.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we lived in town for about 48 years now.
Yes, yeah, very nice.
We're glad to have you. So thank you so much
Yeah,
again
Thank you
for
very much.
stepping up. All right, so we're still a little, our 650 is not here yet, correct?
I actually have to go get him. He's at the Board of Health. He'll be right back.
Something
He's
maybe
down
going
at
on
the
with that crowd outside.
He's down at the busier meeting.
You can come right up.
7 seconds to spare.
Perfect.
Sorry.
You had to battle your way through the crowd, I'm sure.
Board of Health,
Yeah.
Beechwood Road, so I apologize. You guys ready?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Gary Magnuson, CMG Environmental. I'm here, I hope for the last year, to present proposals for the two projects that we've been dealing with, 4 Dressel Hill Road and the Highway Garage. We'll do them one at a time.
If I can.
Yeah, Ms. Graber, could you just
Why don't I
recap
just
this,
frame
please?
this here, and it's also important for the people at home to know who Gary is, because he certainly is an important part of our community. Please find attached two proposals from CMG Environmental Incorporated for environmental services for the period covering July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. For the old highway barn located at 54 North Main Street and the community center located at 4 Dresser Hill. In FY10, CMG Environmental reduced its fees for both sites and will continue to hold the same 2% discount. The cost for the mandated reporting for DEP is for 54 North Main Street, which is our old highway barn. It's $10,133 for that work, and 4 Dresser Hill Road is $7,142. These costs are paid from the environmental account, and I would recommend the board approve the amounts as shown. And if I can go offline just for a moment, I can't stress enough the importance of Gary's work with us over the years, and certainly in this last year in working towards an agreement with Exxon. He was invaluable, so we really appreciate the work he's done.
Thank you. And we will tackle the 54 North Main Street first, for the cost of $10,133.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we approve the contract with CMG Environmental for environmental services related to 54 North Main Street in the amount of $10,133.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Magnuson, do you have anything to add?
2 points.
Please do.
Thanks to Ms. Craver for the kind words. I know it's been said many times, but I've worked with Robin in a lot of negotiations, and you guys have a very valuable person in Ms. Craver. She's done a great job. As in the past years, that budget is for the scope of work as we expect it. If we do less, we charge less. For fiscal year to date, we've charged $6,600.22 on that 10,000, and I don't expect any more. So we're going to be about 4,000 under. So we appreciate that. Let's try to keep that budget where it is, and I expect to be under budget again.
Sounds good. I do like hearing that.
It would be so nice if everyone would get the budget.
So if the motion could reflect a not to exceed
Not to
10,000,
exceed.
that would be good.
I'll amend my motion to not to exceed $10,133.
Thank you, sir.
I'll amend my second.
Thank you. We have an amended motion and second. Any discussion on the amended motion to not to exceed the $10,133? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. And now we'll tackle 4 Dresser Hill Road.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we award CMG Environmental, Inc. for environmental services for 4 Dresser Hill Road in the sum of $7,142, not to exceed $7,142.00.
Ooh, 0-0. Thank you.
Second.
The motion and
Mix
second.
it
Any discussion? Mr. Magnuson, anything to add?
The only comment I have is last year you guys had approved $1,000 additional for dealing with updates and meetings and trying to get the public water connections. So it was, last year you guys approved $8,142 versus $7,142. We billed only a small portion of that we billed $7,442. I'd like to have that additional $1,000 because we do have to deal with some public water connections. So that is trying to get some of the residents that aren't connected to connect. And these are not directly related to the ExxonMobil, they're related to this address where that line is going through. So I'd like to have that extra $1,000 if available to help get these homes connected to ultimately close this site out.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I'll amend my motion to add $1,000 to the total, so the total will be $8,142.00 for 4 Dresser Hill, due to the explanation of Mr. Magnuson on why the extra $1,000.
Second, sorry, I'll amend my second.
Yep, and just a reminder, that's not to exceed the $8,142.00. Any discussion on this amended motion?
Do is hold his feet to the fire.
All right, thank you, and we'll move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much, appreciate all your hard work, and hopefully, it'll be, I want to say we want to see you again, but
We want to get a permanent solution report submitted on this, and we'll talk about other projects.
absolutely. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank you,
for your time.
Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, we will now move back to new business for remaining departments. The reverse 911. Ms. Graver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a letter from Chief Purvier recommending the board consider the reinstatement of the reverse 911 system and to make it permanent. His reasons for this request are that on Thursday, May 19th, the Charlton Police Department, Southbridge Police Department, and Massachusetts State Police were engaged in a search for a wanted subject in the area of Carpenter Hill Road and Harrington Road. The individual who was being sought posed a significant danger to the public, and the Charlton Police Department had no means to send out an emergency notification to warn residents who reside in the area due to the fact that the town of Charlton had discontinued its reverse 911 service several months ago. From that incident, Chief Purvier was contacted by two residents, and I believe that you did get their letters, we had forwarded them to you, who had inquired why they had not received a reverse 911 call to warn them. He did advise these residents that due to budget constraints, the town had discontinued its reverse 911 contracted services. These residents advocated for the town to reconsider reestablishing the reserve 911 system. On June 1st, the Public Safety Committee met and voted unanimously to ask the Board of Selectmen to secure the necessary funds to contract with reverse 911 provider to set up and maintain the said system, so that the town of Charlton would have the capability once again to send out emergency notifications to town residents. Chief Purvier has contacted our previous reverse 911 provider, Everbridge, and they will be, they did provide a cost proposal. And the board, what I would recommend is if the board thinks about putting the reverse 911 back, or if you send it back to, if you take a vote, or if you decide to do something, or pending finance committee, that you really think about making a permanent commitment, because it won't be helpful to bring that on, take it off, and
Right.
that should not be one of the areas that we cut if we bring back.
Thank you. Chief, you have anything to add?
Through the chair. That particular situation that happened on Carpenter Hill, just reaffirmed why we should have it. To say that that was, the only reason why we should have it. There are a lot of times that we would like to make emergency notifications. But the one thing that I thought initially was that we were told by our previous, by Everbridge, the company that we had, was that our system, if we stopped, that all the information would be in place and it would just be, I'll use the term plug and play. I'm told that's not the case, and there's a whole setup fee. And there are a lot of other companies out there, and I'm not looking, and I think my conversation with Ms. Craver was, if we're going to have to pay the reinstatement fee, the setup fee and all that, that we look at and see, what the market will bear, that we look, whatever companies come forward, and we do our due diligence, figuring out which company to select, whether it's our former or a different one, and so that the town, and then once we do arrive at whoever it is, that we properly train all our full-time staff on how to initiate it and go forward from there. But we want to get a good, solid, company and get good, firm bids, and not just look to just go back to the previous company, because like I said, if it was seamless where we could just go back, I would advocate for that. But where if we have to reestablish all that information and what have you, I think it's only proper and good business practice that we put it out to bid.
Right, thank you, and I must echo those sentiments. I think it'd be really behoove us to go out for a good bid to see what's out there, what options we have, and what
Right.
prices we can get.
With everything changing, there may be a lesser cost to us,
Right.
maybe a better product. There's a lot of times, at least for 3 years, a competitor they may sharpen their pencil and want to come in, and but I think it behooves us, in this day and age with all the things going on in the world, to be able to have a direct contact with our public, so we can warn them instantaneously when something's going on. And I know, in speaking with Ms. Craver, we talk about other things going on, community notification through our, town website and Facebook pages and things like that. But when you have to get to somebody right away and help tell them what to do, or advise them what they should be doing, I think this is the way to go.
Thank you. Mr. Singer, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, just personally, I've never wanted to not have this system. So when we lost it, I was not happy that we lost it. I'd be thrilled to get this back. It used to be, and I think it would still be the same case, obviously the priority is emergency situations. I can talk today. Emergency situations like what occurred. But there are other benefits to this town as well that may get bumped for emergency uses, but a road closure or other non-emergency, it used to be we could use it for non-emergency, but if there was an emergency, we would get bumped.
So Ms. Craver had me look into, could we do it on a per call basis? And the company said no, and I know that you received an email reflecting that. So I don't know if another company would have
Well,
something.
not per call, but I mean, it
No.
offered more
So, yes.
valuable,
So
more
I-
value than just one use.
No, and I'll give you an example. Down when we closed the bridge at Hilkus, that section of town should have got a notification. Aside from the, putting a post,
Right.
post in the road, that people, or even the whole town, people that commute through that area and use that as a shortcut, and family members or what have you. So all those type of things that give rise to, maybe it's not, yes, somebody that's wanted by the police and being sought or what have you, but things that are very, that impact those people's lives.
There's a lot
When
of
we shut,
uses for the system.
Absolutely.
when we shut down Gulfwood Road,
Right.
people that normally had commuted through there. So those type of things. And people in the previous system could sign up if we elected to do community notifications as, I don't know, something like, don't forget to go and vote today, today's
Right.
town, but they can elect not to receive that or to receive that, Hey,
Right.
Old Home Days this weekend, we're gonna have great fireworks, come out on Saturday night. Those kind of notifications if we wanted to do them. But I think when you drill it all down, that the community always should have the reverse 911 system, at least with the media, the phone system and the media that we have today. That's the best way that I know that we can get to your landline and your mobile lines.
So,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, so
Yes, Mr. Singer.
with that being said, I would like to move to authorize the chief and the town administrator to work together to try and bring in competing bids and come back to us with 2 or 3 options with a cost analysis. This is what they will provide for X cost and what competitors will provide, so we can make an educated decision to bring in a good working system at a good rate.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? I think it's a great idea. I think it's the best, to see what's out there. I'm sure there's so many different capabilities that, it's hard just to know what's out there. Mr. McGrath?
Yeah, through the chair, just a couple of things. And I want the citizens to know this. We didn't take lightly cutting this. We were under tremendous budget constraints when this happened. And there's other things that had the same thing happen to it. Luckily, we do have, a little bit of cash that we can, go and take care of this. But these are the types of things that we lose when we don't have enough money to run the general government budget.
And
Thank you.
just in support of that, through the chair, I understand, when you're deciding, to keep police officers on the street and firefighters working and the things that have to get trimmed, and it's not always, it's very distasteful, and it does take away from those type of things that enhance living here in Charlton. But when, core services are going to be lost or what have you, those are the hard decisions that are made, and it's good that at least we can look at, and for this period of time, look at reinstating and hopefully keep that as a permanent line item.
Thank you. Ms. Craver, did you have something to say?
Yeah, and I don't think it was just the budget. I mean, it certainly was a budget, but when they looked at priorities, I don't think the usage was, it was not used as much. But as the chief has said in the past, that just having it available, even if we don't use it, there's something to be said for the cost. So one thing would be, which would help give us some direction as we move forward, would you want to see this moving forward immediately? So would we be looking to have a conversation with the finance committee, or are you thinking that this might be something that you would like to bring back for the October special town meeting?
I would rather know sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Myself also.
So we will move this forward, and then what I'm imagining is if we come up with a plan that you like, then it probably would get referred to the finance committee, and hopefully if they support the full, and I can't stress enough that I'm hoping that we would make the commitment if we're gonna bring it back to keep it, and that we could look at a reserve fund transfer for it, because we would be looking at $5,000 to $6,000, possibly $8,000 with the whole thing being put together.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. Any other discussion on the motion? Mr.
No,
Singer?
just a comment that, it is nice that, there's a lot of, arguments to be made one way or another. But I think it's nice to be able to say we have the ability to do this now, and we do live in a community that regardless of how hard decisions are that have to be made, we provide a wonderful service, and the police department, fire, highway, clerical, everyone in this town, we're lucky.
Absolutely.
Even with that, we have a great services in this town.
The whole financial team,
Everybody.
everybody has always worked to keep everything going, and, your bond rating is reflective of that and everything else. And people that aren't here every single week seeing the hard decisions made and day-to-day basis, when you look at other towns and the financial situations that they're in, this town has been very well run.
Thank you, Chief.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we move to a vote. All in favor of the motion of authorizing town administrator and chief to go out to bid for such a system, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cooper?
I'm wondering if there's a way that we can indicate that we would like this to be a permanent solution, that we want to have this permanently. Is there something that we can put into a motion or a policy that would allow us to do that?
I thought that's what we were talking about, but I can amend my motion, because I thought the whole concept was to bring it back permanently.
Well, I'm thinking that if we bring you back a recommendation after having gone out and done the procurement, then perhaps your wording as you send it to the finance committee would be a strong recommendation that they consider keeping that as a permanent, as part of the budget.
I think we can even direct that in our budget, budget discussions, we just say that's a line item that we're not gonna touch.
Should probably tell the town administrator not to cut it when it comes around. That's probably all you have to do.
So I still don't see any action
Thank
being
you,
taken on that, but Chief, thank you so much for your insight on that, and we look forward to see what you guys come up with. All right, we are finished with new business. We'll move back to old business. For item number 3, a correction to a highway bid. Ms. Craver?
Where did you go?
I'm sorry, number,
How about number
oh,
1?
we didn't touch old business yet. I don't know why I checked those off. Item number 1, a appointment of a clerk for our board. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. At your May 10th meeting, the board reorganized by voting you as chairman and Mr. McGrath as vice chairman. There still will need to be a clerk of the board. What are your wishes?
Through the chair,
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Singer as the clerk for the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Singer, will you serve?
I would serve in any capacity needed.
Thank you very much, and I want to take this time to thank Ms. Cooper for serving 2 years as the clerk of the board. Appreciate all your hard work so far. And any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Congratulations, Clerk Singer. Is that the correct terminology?
I answered almost anything.
All right, thank you. And we'll move to our second item under old business, the municipal aggregation plan. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. At the board's February 16th meeting, you approved the contract for Good Energy. Good Energy has submitted our aggregation plan to the Department of Energy Resources for the initial consultation stage, which consists of a review of the aggregation plan by DOER and a consultation meeting at their offices. The consultation meeting will be attended by the Massachusetts Good Energy team, and municipal officials could attend as well as in person or by conference call. Good Energy is confident that our aggregation plan will not need substantial changes. Once the consultation meeting is completed and any changes are made to the aggregation plan, the agency will issue a consultation letter, which is necessary to move to the approval stage of the DPU. Once at the DPU, the aggregation plan is reviewed and a public hearing is conducted at the DPU offices. Municipal officials are encouraged to attend this public hearing in person. After they approve our aggregation plan, Good Energy will conduct a competitive bid for a power supply for the town of Charlton, individually or as part of an aggregation with other municipalities. While the aggregation plan is in DOER's consultation process, you are asked to vote to submit the aggregation plan to the DPU for approval. Once this is done, we will need the town clerk to certify your vote. I would recommend that the board approve this request.
Thank you.
Through the chair,
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we submit our aggregation plan to DPU for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Craver, for all your work on this.
Thank you.
All right, and now we'll move to item number 3, correction to highway bid.
Okay, at your May 10th meeting, the highway materials bid was provided to you with recommendations for that award. The item for bituminous concrete in type 1 in place was awarded at $61.90 per ton. To lift, drop, plate, and adjust castings unit price, $375. Item 220.2, unit price for $235, and remove and reset water gates, $275 to Mass Broken Stone Company out of Berlin. And last year's bid was awarded to the Mass Broken Stone in the amount of $64.94 per ton. The correct amount of the bid should have read $61.96 instead of $61.90. So I would just ask you to rescind your original vote of $61.90 and redo the award for the bid at $61.96 per ton.
Thank you. And this is just
This is a typo.
This goes to show you that those 00 cents matter.
On a ton of asphalt.
So what are the wishes of the board then?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we rescind our original award of, for bituminous concrete to, Mass Broken Stone of $61.90 due to typographical.
Mhm. And to re-award the bid?
And do we have to do this 2 separate motions?
I think you can just amend your motion.
Okay, so, that we re-award the bid to Mass Broken Stone for $61.96 per ton for bituminous asphalt type 1 concrete.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Thank you for catching this, and we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Sure, they would have caught it the minute they got that first check.
It's like, wait a second, this doesn't add up.
Well, staff caught that, so thank you. We have a good crew.
We will move to item 4 on old business, police chief process. Ms. Craver?
Yes, we were asked to put this item on the agenda to discuss the process for hiring a new police chief.
Thank you, and I know a few members have reached out to me to discuss this, just, as everyone knows, Chief Purvier will be retiring at the end of this year. I wanted to make sure the board is, proactive on, finding a replacement. And in this case, one thing we mentioned was doing an interim police chief. And I don't think we had, we've had discussions, but I don't think we come to any conclusions on what we want to do to start that process. Ms.
I
Graber?
will just say that I have started the process about the rehiring piece. I have not looked into the interim. This position is civil service, so I say that because I'm not and the chief may have more information on exactly how constrictive your
Right.
choices are with an interim
Right.
chief.
So are we looking for motion to start the process on the interim chief?
Yeah, so I would like to see maybe our board authorize the town administrator to start that process and, pending any civil service or any other requirements.
Okay, and so I'll make that motion that we ask the town administrator to start the process for hiring an interim police chief, looking both inside and outside the department.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
So
Inside and outside.
For me, I think I've argued it to death. My preference is for the interim is outside, only because I think, and everyone's gonna have different perceptions, but to me, the only way I can see it being completely fair and bringing in someone who does not want it and has no political connections to the people in the department is to bring in an outsider who doesn't want the job. We'll do the interim job, and we'll make our appointment, they'll leave. But
Does-
I'm fine with that.
Will the board then want to take any other actions on that, or leave it open for both internal and external?
No, I think we'll leave it, that's my own opinion, I made the
Yeah.
motion, Dave
And
seconded.
the only thing I would request is I did provide town administrator with a referral, actually, that came from a very high law enforcement resource that is highly recommended to be included in that, and I would like to see at least that person included in the search.
Absolutely, and I ask you to make sure you send all that information to the town
Already
administrator.
done.
Perfect, thank you.
I've even had some contact from businesses
Right.
that have made recommendations. So I'll compile any names that anyone gives me, and whatever process we use, I can certainly make sure that they are aware of what the process is.
Perfect, thank you.
Are we gonna leave it at that, or are we going to give any kind of particular guidelines?
What are the wishes of the board with that? Do you have any guidelines you want to give?
I think leave it open as that, and let's get as many people, get a list, and we'll move forward.
Sounds good. And I know, December's gonna be here before we know it, so just wanted to make sure we were
Yes.
being proactive about that.
Okay,
All right, thank you so much. I
we'll get
appreciate
that moving.
appreciate
Thank you.
seeing how that works out. So we are finished with old business and move on to committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports?
No, but I'm glad to say, and I want to thank the town administrator for giving us our updated committee report so that we can start working on it.
Well-
And just one thing, the only one that did complete theirs was
Thanks.
Cindy, so.
Good night, Chief.
I had two left. I almost got there. And then Ms. McGrath obviously talking about the Board of Selectmen policy review, which I assume we have nothing for tonight. But yeah, so that has been sent out to the board, so please, when you have a chance to take a look at them, just, do one or two for the next meeting. Make sure you send it to Mary, and just, it's always good to review what our policies are and see if there's any changes. And if it's not, it's always good to know, what we have on the books. All right, then we'll move to our student select person report. Ms. Ross?
Thank you very much. So this past Sunday, we said goodbye to our seniors, graduating the year 2016. We sent our best wishes to them as they finished commencement ceremonies around 2 p.m. at the DCU Center in Worcester. And prom is also held at the DCU Center a few weeks ago on May 21st, 6:30 to 11. It went exceptionally well, and everybody looked amazing. All spring sports are finished besides track. The track teams had districts today. The concluded spring sports are taking place in award ceremonies and celebratory banquets. The sophomores just concluded their final MCAS testing sessions last week with biology. Yesterday, which was June 6th, was class selection day. Class office candidates reported to the auditorium with their grades and gave speeches. Results were announced this morning. Next week is finals week for freshmen through juniors. Students will also receive sign-out sheets for their classes as the end of the year closes in. The last day of school is June 20th and will be a half day.
Thank you. And speaking of saying goodbye to seniors, sadly, this is Mrs. Ross' last meeting with us for this
Yeah,
year.
I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity for like public speaking, just getting kind of the inside scoop on what goes on here.
You know,
I hope
it
to be
was
back in the fall.
absolutely, it was a pleasure having you here for this year, and I'm surprised how fast it went by.
Yeah, I
But
know.
the
Thank
board
you.
would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation
Oh,
to
thank you
show
so much.
how much
So
we
if we
appreciate
could
it.
come to the front and take a picture for the
Yep.
town report and
Sure.
make sure.
And of course, I will read off the certificate. So, Ms. Ross, if you'd come here and the board will join me. And it says, this is a certificate of appreciation presented to Bailey Ross for your dedication to the town of Charlton in serving as a student select person the 2015-2016 school year and for the 32-plus hours you have dedicated to the Board of Selectmen. Set on the 7th day of June in the year 2016. Signed, members of our board. Ms. Ross.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So here you are,
It's an
and
honor.
just, we'll pose.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you all very
Thank you
much.
again, Ms. Ross.
Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move on to the town administrator's report, and you are not allowed to go anywhere.
Okay, Maya participation credits. Maya Property and Casualty Board of Directors approved an additional participation credit of $1,071 for the town of Charlton. These credits are in addition to all the other credits and discounts we'll receive as part of our renewal for July 1st. These credits recognize the long-term loyalty and commitment of the Maya membership. Eligibility for overtime pay. For informational purposes, the Federal Department of Labor issued new rules updating the eligibility for overtime pay. The salary threshold for overtime eligibility increased from $455 per week to $913. This is the Fair Labor Standards Act. In order to be a salaried employee, you must meet this bar. So we are in the process of taking a look at our employees and see if anyone falls in that category, and I'll report back whether or not we have to make any additional changes.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the town administrator? Is there
I would actually add one more. The governor did sign the records law. So there's a new records law. There are some new components in it, one being that you will have to appoint a public records officer. I have talked to the town clerk to see if she would be interested in it. She's thinking about it. And if not, I'll be bringing some more information back to you. It's going to be very important to do some training with our employees and our boards and committees, because one of the changes, it now allows that any grievant can actually get an attorney and get the attorney's fees, which means
I'm
that
sure,
there
I'm sure it can
will-
add up fast.
Well, the attorneys now, because they know that they don't even have to win, if it's settled before they get to court, they would still get their attorney's fees. So this can turn into being very expensive for municipalities. This was one piece we tried to fight and get out, but we weren't successful.
So thank you for being proactive about that, Ms. Graver. Are there any other questions for the town administrator? Is there any other business for the board? I just want to take a moment to recognize Jake, who is manning the cameras back there. So for the first time for this meeting. I'm sorry, Chris, I'm sorry. Chris, and,
Thank
you
you,
know,
Chris.
yeah, doing an excellent job tonight. Just want to thank you
Thank you.
and recognize the fact that, you know, worked out pretty good.
Excellent supervision, Drew.
Yeah.
I want my coffee, though.
All right, with that, we do not have an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
We're now adjourned at 7:25. And just a reminder, our next regular selectors meeting will be June 21st. With that, have a great night.